Hi, my name is Jane. I'm 42 years old. I passed my driver's test when I was 22, and despite being a confident learner, I had a really lovely instructor, passed my test. I became incredibly anxious when it was time for me to drive on my own. I basically started to avoid driving at all costs, and soon after I was actually offered a place in university in London. So I moved to London, where I continued to avoid driving for the next 10 years until I was 31. I had a baby. I was living somewhere outside of London where I needed to drive, and I was so nervous that I couldn't even drive down the road. I couldn't even sit in the driver's seat. My husband had to do everything, and it just got to a point where it was completely unmanageable. So I had to finally accept that I had probably driving phobia and I needed some help. So the problems that I had with driving before I did the drive therapy course were that I didn't drive. I just didn't drive. It was a complete avoidance. I just told people that I couldn't drive and that I liked walking, and that my husband was happy to drive everywhere. So for me, it was a complete avoidance. I just never drove. My experience of the drive therapy course was fantastic. It was life-changing. I can honestly say that I would not be driving today if it wasn't for the drive therapy course. It was really different to how I imagined. I thought it would be like a traditional driver's lesson where I would be told what route I was going, and then I would be corrected on all the things I did wrong. My biggest fear, of course, was that they would tell me I was a terrible driver, so I was just convinced that the whole way around I was going to be told, you shouldn't do this, you do this wrong. It couldn't have been further from that. We began the lesson by sitting in the car for probably half an hour, just going through my experience, what had led to this total refusal to drive. We discussed my anxiety. Carmine discussed different techniques I could use to manage my anxiety when I was driving. And then we agreed on a route that we could drive together, which was a route that I wanted to do on my own. It was literally a 5-minute drive down the road, but it was one that I was going to do quite frequently. So we did the route together, and he was really reassuring the whole time, just constantly reassuring me that I was fine. And we basically did that route maybe 5 or 6 times, just repeated it over and over, and each time I just got more and more confident. And yeah, it was brilliant. It was just nothing like I expected. And then at the end of the lesson, we reflected on what I had done, and we agreed a plan going forward so that I could practice my driving and continue building on what I'd learned during the course. The part of the drive therapy course that was most valuable to me, well, there were 2. The first one was the techniques I could use to control, well, to help my anxiety when I was driving, and also the understanding where my anxiety came from and how that had escalated so much. And the second part was literally just driving and having Carmine next to me, helping me practice the techniques that he had taught me whilst driving. That was because at this point I hadn't driven in probably 11 years. So just having him next to me, going through everything whilst I was driving, reassuring me, that to me was the most valuable part, because I just don't think I would have managed otherwise. How has the drive therapy course made my life easier? Well, now I can drive. I don't have to walk everywhere and don't have to come up with excuses all the time as to why I can't drive. I can take my children places, I can visit friends, I drive to work. It's made everything easier. I can't really state any other way how much easier my life is now. So the things that I can do now that I couldn't do before the course, I can drive, which I couldn't do before the course. I used to take the train to work every day, now I can drive to work. I used to make excuses all the time about why I couldn't drive. I don't have to do that anymore. I can drive my children to parties. I can go to the supermarket when it's raining instead of telling people I love walking in the rain. It has just totally changed my life, and as I said, I wouldn't be driving now if it wasn't for the drive therapy course. To anyone considering doing the drive therapy course, I would tell you to go for it 100%. You won't regret it. It will open up so many more doors in your life. It will give you so much more freedom. I would also tell you that you're probably a better driver than you think you are. And then finally, I would tell you that you are not alone. Driving anxiety is far more common than you probably think, and challenging this head on will be the best thing that you can do for yourself.